I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. This meeting is being held in accordance with the scheduled meetings adopted at the organizational meeting held January 6, 2021. Notice of this regular meeting of the Kenilworth Board of Education is provided to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, the local source on January 8, 2021. A copy of the file. The Kenilworth Borough Clerk posted in the board office, the Kenilworth Borough Hall, Gurley and Harding Schools as provided by the Open Public Meetings Act. COVID-19 compliance was updated on December 14, 2020. This will be an in-person meeting due to COVID-19 modifications to the indoor capacities issued by the state of New Jersey. Indoor person participation is limited due to social distancing requirements and the size of the meeting room. In accordance with the Board of Education Bylaw 10164.6, remote public board meeting during a declared emergency, and in an effort to encourage and increase public participation, the meeting will be live streamed. The public will be able to view a YouTube live stream. The link will be available at 7:30 p.m. by clicking on the Board of Education tab on the Kenilworth District homepage, then the Board of Education YouTube channel tab, where you will be able to see the live stream icon. If members of the public are unable to attend the meeting in person and do not have internet access to watch the live stream, they will have an opportunity to call in to listen to the meeting. Members of the public requesting this accommodation must request to do so by 3 p.m. prior to the meeting to obtain the call-in information and passcodes. The public comment will be accepted as follows at this meeting: electronically via public emails at public comments at kenilworthschools.com. These messages must have been received by 4 p.m. on the night of the meeting. All emails received by the deadline will be read during the public comment section of the meeting. In person at the venue during the public comment section of the meeting, and finally by calling into the meeting venue at 908-931-9696, extension 2325, during the public comment section of the meeting. In accordance with the Board of Education Bylaw 0155.1, board member participation at meetings using electronic devices, board members will have an opportunity, if needed, to participate via the Zoom meeting platform. This evening, no one has requested to do so, therefore we are fully live this evening. The purpose of this evening's meeting is to present the 2021-22 annual school budget, district budget to the community and adopt the budget, as well as award several construction projects for the summer of 2021.
Salute to the flag. Please rise and join me in the salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Ganal, can we have a roll call, please?
Biner. Braun.
Here.
David.
Here.
Drogan. Here. Haberther. Here. Jankowitz. Ladati. Here. Panici.
Here.
Zimmerman. We have quorum.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the board before we open the meeting to the public?
Now, actually, we're going to do the presentation first.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's good. This evening, we are about to present the public budget for the 2021-22 school year. This is our third public presentation regarding the budget. The first focused on the expenditure phase and leadership budgets. The second reviewed the in-depth technical side of the budget and focused on the technical requirements for submitting the budget to the Executive County Superintendent for approval, as well as reviewing the Phase 2 section, which was salaries, and the Phase 3 section, which was the school business administrator expenditures. Each one of these phases was extensively reviewed at the committee level as well during the months of January, February, and March. We are at the position this evening where we are proud to present the 2021-22 budget to you. And we're going to start off with Mr. Arlington.
Good evening. Prior to getting into the particulars and financial details of the budget, I wanted to spend a few minutes putting that work into a broader educational context. I'm really excited about the opportunities this budget provides for kids. It aligns to our larger district work, but it doesn't add a plethora of new initiatives, but rather allows us to double down on the programs and efforts that have allowed us to see real growth in the past few years. It doesn't prioritize easy solutions or quick fixes. Rather, this budget values and honors the good work we're already doing and will help to both deepen that work and accelerate it. This budget allows us to further our commitment in the areas that support our academic turnaround efforts in the spaces of future readiness, the implementation of research-based programs, and supporting that work through high-quality professional learning. These values live at the intersection of these 5 budget goals that underscore our commitment to zero-based budgeting, our commitment to expanding access for kids, and our realization that our return to school post-pandemic calls for special human and material resources and generally special attention. As you likely know by now, either because of some of the committee work or from full board presentations, some of the priority budget highlights include updated textbooks across content areas and grade levels, including and notably high school math. We're continuing to implement balanced literacy approaches across the district with efforts like Readers and Writers Workshop and other science-based programs like Orton Gillingham. Upgrades to our technology infrastructure, as well as deepening our use of technology tools, are also spotlighted in this budget, as is STEM-related teaching and learning through the creation of innovation research and design spaces and courses. This budget supports all of these efforts by front-ranking professional development, much of which involves teacher coaching. Our work of refreshing and updating our intervention program and approaches was well underway before the pandemic, and the silver lining of the pandemic has been that we've seen firsthand our focus on interventions, whether they be academic or social emotional, are certainly on track. A Brearley tutoring program and the expansion of our alternate ed program, for example, take what we know has been effective, investing in a multi-tiered system of supports, and capitalizes on it. It's my sincere hope that we will disrupt the learning loss narrative that's so frequently spoken about currently with high-quality teaching and learning. And whether you believe statistics like those coming out of think tanks like the group EAB, whose research suggests that academically average students will be 5+ months behind in the fall when they would have been, where they would have been pre-COVID. Thanks to the focus and direction of this budget, we're ready to face the unknown that September promises to bring. Thank you to the Board of Ed, particularly the Finance Committee, my leadership, and specifically Mr. Ganella for ensuring we're presenting to the public a fiscally responsible budget that's driven by these 5 district goals and all the good work that's happening in each of these areas. Mr. Ganella will now dive into some of the more granular details.
Thank you, Mr. Arlington. As you can see, he's excited, I'm excited, and I think we're going to be in for a good 2021-22 school year. I'd like to begin by talking a little about revenues. So basically, not much has changed since our March 15th submission to the Executive County Superintendent, but there was one change that we needed to do. As we discussed at our meeting in March, and then subsequently at a Finance Committee meeting, the TCs, or the relocatable classrooms, or now we're going to be calling them module classrooms, are in a state of disrepair due to some wind damage last year. And as a result, we are going to be able to get an insurance settlement for the replacement of that, partial replacement of it. A full replacement funding will be partially through the insurance settlement. This program is targeted for our alternate program and is a very important aspect of that program. So the modification that we talked about in March was using ESSER funds. And if you had an opportunity to read my budget update on Friday, we talked about the benefits of using is not using ESSER funds, and some of my concerns about using ESSER funds. Specifically, the grant to date has not been approved. We actually haven't even submitted it yet because we don't have the full grasp of where we're going with it yet. And there's no guarantee that the use of the ESSER funds for this project would have been granted to begin with. The timelines on the project reviews at the DOE are behind schedule significantly, and therefore could have an impact on our ability to use the ESSER funds. And then budgetarily speaking, the way I'm recommending we fund the project is cleaner, I think, than using the ESSER funds. And that would be to utilize not only the insurance funds, but also an appropriate and additional money from capital reserve to take into consideration this project. So the total project cost, as you will have seen on Friday, is roughly $648,000, getting an insurance settlement of $113,000, and therefore we would appropriate $535,000 from our capital reserve. By doing so, we're able to do the project expeditiously. Hopefully it will be done sometime in the fall, so the students can be getting in there in probably October or November, depending on, like I said, the Department of Ed guidelines and review process. But otherwise, it would take a lot longer, and we felt that this would be the best way of doing it. The change in the budget that is on the agenda this evening has no tax impact. No change in the tax levy that we presented back in March, because this is, once again, this is an appropriation from our reserves. So therefore, it's no impact on the tax levy. Okay. I will stop there and ask if there are any questions, because that is a very important, that's really the unique difference between our March meeting and this meeting. So if there are any questions regarding that project or the way we're funding it, this would be a great time to talk about it. Okay? All right. This isn't approving the project. We'll probably do that in June, once we have our architects review it and go through the process. But this at least puts us in a position where the board is committed financially to do the project. Okay. So, talking about the expenditures, you can see here our expenditures haven't changed, once again, other than that one line there for the operation of capital outlay going up to that $904,000 amount, which includes not only the money that we have appropriated for the module classrooms, but in addition to that, we have another resolution on this evening's budget, on this evening's agenda for the Harding Masonry and Basement Ventilation Project, which is also on this evening's agenda, which is also going to be an appropriation from capital reserve and maintenance reserve because of the two different projects that we're doing between the masonry project and the ventilation project. Cost programmatic breakdown. I like to look at where we stand programmatically when we're breaking down the budget into different categories. You can see that employee benefits is about 15% of the budget. The Harding School Program is almost 23.5% of the budget. Burley's at almost 27%. Special Education's at 23%. Athletics is at 2.5%, and then undistributed is at 9.29%. So undistributed includes things like central administration, the IT department, and leases and debt service, things that we really can't attribute to one of the programmatic, educational programmatic pieces. Expenditures and revenues, as you know, our revenues must equal our expenditures, and this basically shows you how that is the case. Our total expenditures is $31,573,000, and our anticipated revenues is $31,573,000. So they equal. Tax levy calculation. When we talk about the tax levy calculation, this is the tax levy cap calculation. It's basically our prior year budget in tax levy increased by 2%, and you're allowing for certain adjustments for enrollment and other things that we typically don't qualify. Typically, the only when we do qualify is either for health care costs or enrollment. And this year, we did not qualify for the health care costs because we did not have a significant increase in our health insurance. Regarding our health insurance, on our May meeting, I'll be presenting the renewal for our health insurance. I'd indicated to the Finance Committee that we were anticipating a good renewal this year, and it did come in very good. I'll be outlining that to the board and the Finance Committee over the next couple of weeks prior to the May board meeting, at which time we will approve the carrier for the 21-22 school year. We are going to remain with Aetna for our health benefits, but we are going to make a modification from going from Horizon Dental to Aetna Dental for our dental insurance for our employees. That will be part of the recommendation on May 12th, and I'll go into review as well as Brown & Brown's marketing report will be coming out shortly. Banked cap, at our March meeting, committee meetings, we had a very lengthy discussion about banked cap and how we are using $97,000 of bank cap this year. We're also not going to be using $311,000, and that basically goes away this year. If it's unused after 3 years, that goes away. And we do still have some bank cap after that for next year if we need it. After that, we don't have any, we haven't generated any for the 2 years. And remember, bank cap isn't real money, it's just your ability to increase the tax levy. So next slide is going over our recapitulation of balances, the various reserves. Here you could see, bring it up here because it's a little tiny for me here. Our unassigned, which is our free balance, is our surplus. We're starting the year off with started the year off with $720,000. We're going to be appropriating money to reduce the tax levy, and by the end of the year, we're anticipating having $362,000. Capital reserve, you can see we started the year off with $2.6 million, and we're appropriating $795,000, which will leave us with a balance of $1.8 million. Maintenance reserve, we started the year off with $500,000. We're appropriating $109,000 for the masonry and ventilation project, which brings us down to $391,000. And finally, our emergency reserve, which fortunately we could have gone and dipped into if we needed for COVID this year. They did allow that. But fortunately, we didn't. There were a lot of financial opportunities available to the school district through whether it be the ESSER funds, through the county government, or other agencies that provided us funding. FEMA, though we haven't gotten our FEMA check yet. We're hopeful we'll get that soon. Those opera finances negatively. So that's the recapitulation of balances. Next is calculating the tax levy. It's a pretty simple process in reality. You take your total budget and you subtract all your revenues all your other revenues. So you have your appropriations, from free balance, your withdrawals from reserves, our tuition income from Winfield, our send-receive relationship, other miscellaneous revenues, whether it be rental of buildings or interests, and then our state aids, our choice aid, federal aid, and then finally debt service. And what is left is our current expense tax levy. So that's how you come up with the tax levy. Next, we have the tax impact. As we discussed, this has not changed since our March meeting. So we're looking at a total increase of taxes on a house assessed at $183,400 at $114.72. And this is just a quick look at historically to show you over the past 5 years where our tax increase averages are. We've had a tax increase over those 5 years of 1.35%, which is pretty good. And that concludes my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Tax increase, what percentage is that? It says $140-something or 142 per. What kind of a percentage is that going up?
2
You have
point,
it. You used to have that.
2.47?
I didn't see it this year.
it's in your packet. I don't have that piece here. 2.47, right?
It's 2 point something, back in March or something.
That's expenditures, but it says 2.24, no? 2.47. Oh, there it is at the top. Yeah, 2.47. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
You want to open the
Now you can open it to the public.
We're now going to open the meeting for public comment. Is there a motion to open the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Okay, second. Okay. Motion made by Mr. David, seconded by Mr. Haberthor. All those in favor of opening the meeting to the public, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The meeting is open to the public.
Okay, we'll have a 1-minute delay until we, for the live stream. Probably get the phone number again. If someone does need to call in, since there's no one here public, the number is 908-931-9696, extension 2325. Once again, that's 908-931-9696, extension 2325. Okay.
Can I please have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Mr. David, seconded by Mrs. Drogan. The meeting is now closed to the public for comment. Mr. Ganello, can we have a roll call on the following resolutions?
Yes, this is for finance resolutions 1 through 3. Mr. Ladati?
Yes, I would like to move resolutions 1, 2, and 3 to a vote, to a formal vote.
I'll second.
Okay, motion was made by Mr. Ladati, seconded by Mr. David. This is for resolutions 1 through 3 on the agenda. Braun?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Drogan?
Yes.
Haberthor? Yes. Jankowicz? I'm sorry, Jankowicz is here. Ladati?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Panici?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Do we have to go into closed session?
We do not.
Okay. So then, if possible, can I please have a motion to adjourn? Okay. Second?
Second?
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Haberthor, seconded by Mrs. Drogan. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.